We're back to the district level elections, which resumes today after voting in certain electoral areas in the Ashanti and Eastern regions, which has been rescheduled due to technical challenges faced by the Electoral Commission. Despite the Electoral Commission's effort to achieve 60% participation, some polling stations recorded low voter turnout. Let's touch base with our correspondent on the ground for us, Emmanuel Bright-Kweku, who's joining us from the Mensha South constituency in the Ashanti region. Emmanuel, bring us up to speed with what's happening.
Constituency to gauge the mood here. What is currently running through the region is that there's been low turnouts at most of the polling centers across the region. When I went to Mensha South, it wasn't quite impressive. Even here at the Amedia Primary School, it's not quite impressive. But I'll quickly interact with my colleague Clinton Yeboah. He has been monitoring situations in the Oforikrom constituency. Also, we understand that in the Ashanti region, over 200 electoral areas were actually exempted from Tuesday's exercise. And so today, they are partaking in this particular exercise. But Clinton, you have been monitoring situations in the Oforikrom constituency. Tell us what has really happened over there.
Okay, so I've been touring the Oforikrom constituency. Oforikrom constituency is one of the densely populated constituencies, and so one would expect that ordinarily there should be huge numbers of voters. But when I went, I could find that the place was literally empty. So per my conversation, in fact, the particular station that I went to is Kote RC Basic School. The Kote RC Basic School has 4 polling stations, polling station 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so I had a conversation with the presiding officer who explained that, yes, the voter turnout is very, very low. And the reasons that, according to her, has been given by some voters are that most of them came on Tuesday to vote. And the situation were not so juicy for them, and so they went back. And so they have closed their minds of any incident or the possibility of it happening at all. And so they never expected that the voting would come on today. And so that is why they are recording voter turnout. Aside from that, people would come there but would not find their names in the register. Apart from the fact that there is an electronic voting system that is supposed to capture everyone, people have not been able to be verified, and so they are either directed to the other polling station. Remember that they have 4 polling centers, and so they are directed to the other 3 polling centers. And when they find that their names are not in the list of any of the 3, then they have no choice but to get back home. And so the voters who have already voted that I engaged were explaining. I mean, they are actually entreating that we have a physical kind of verification that would not demand so much of the electronic voting, such that when you come to vote and the machine verifies that you can vote. Apart from that, there should be some kind of physical indication that you have voted, because I mean, you cannot trust machines 100%. So that has been the comments coming from those who have already voted. And so, and for those who have not already voted, it's just an issue of apathy. They do not see development in the community, and so they find no reason to vote. And also, they are discouraged by the fact that they will come to the voting center and not find their names there. And so they are not going to wait for, I mean, a magic to be conjured for their names to appear in the list.
Okay, all right, so that's my colleague Clinton Yeboah. He has been monitoring situations at the Oforikrom constituency. And as you rightly heard him, the voter turnout has not been quite impressive. And we understand that even despite the voter turnout being not impressive, beginning in the morning when elections were actually supposed to start around 7 a.m. in some electoral areas due to delays in the voting materials arriving at the centers, some of the electorates had to move out. They waited close to an hour, and voting started around 9:30 a.m. So they had to move out, and since then they have not been able to come to the center to vote. But I'll quickly interact with the presiding officer for this particular area, this voting center. That is the Amedia Primary School electoral or polling center. Sir, good afternoon. I want to find out from you, how has the voter turnout been so far for you?
Okay, right now it's been low since morning. It's about 50 people who has come and vote.
Okay, so but how many do you expect?
We are expecting 344 voters, but as at now, we have 50.
As at now, getting to almost this time around in the evening, with the polls getting close, we are only having 50 people come.
50 people coming.
Okay,
So we are expecting more
okay,
to come.
okay. But do you have any reasons, or do you know any reasons why they are not coming?
We don't know. Maybe as it was postponed, that may be the case. And so as at now, we don't know why.
But on Tuesday, were you here?
I was here on Tuesday, but there were no turnout. The ballot papers were not ready, so we have to go back.
But did you have some people come around?
People came around to check if they can vote, but there were nothing for them to.
Okay. So when you compare the numbers from, let's say, Tuesday and then even today, do you think that Tuesday there could have been a better turnout as compared to today?
By all means, it have been better than today.
All right, sure. So that's the presiding officer here at the TI Amedia polling center. He's been telling us that the numbers have also not been quite impressive. They can't really ascertain why people are not turning up. But what we understand is that today being the last market day for the year ahead of the Christmas festivities, most people would prefer to cash in during this particular period than to come to the voting center and then cast their ballots. But I have a polling.
Well, let's stay a little longer on the district level elections because there are concerns about the politicization of the process. The Center for Decentralization on Advocacy conducted a research on this, and of course the lead coordinator, Kuja Ferry, was joining us in studio with more of this. Thank you, sir, for your time. What did you find in your data?
Thank you. So we did a survey before the elections and then after the elections. For about 3 months now, we've been following up and tracing people who registered to contest for the District Assembly election as Assemblymen Unit Committee members. I think there were over 8,000 people across the country and contesting in over 6,200 electoral areas across the country were going to contest. You remember that there have been concerns about the local government system. DCs, some people wanted DCs to be elected. Some also been having concerns as to the two major parties in particular getting so actively involved in this local government election process. So we decided to conduct this survey to be able to establish as indeed if they are involved or not. So what we try to do is to identify individuals who live within these electoral areas. Some are teachers, nurses, people who are able to give us credible information, who we identified across all these electoral areas. We needed to do so because they needed to be able to identify the individuals, and since they also live in the same electoral areas, as to whether they know them or not, and to be able to establish their quote-unquote political affiliations. So we have pro-NDCs, pro-MPPs, and of course we have neutrals. So these, our members across the electoral areas were able to give us information.
So what did you find?
We realized that, okay, so we had already put out the data that there were most of these, about over 80% of the people who were going to contest, were either pro-NDCs or pro-MPPs. First, they've been identified by our agents on the ground. And two, we also used their campaign materials, the coding they've used in their campaign materials to be able to establish whether they are pro-MPP or they are pro-NDCs. It's interesting that if you pick the figures that we got, based on their registration at the EC and based on the identity of the individuals that we've been able to establish, you'll be able to tell that even in the regional distributions, you'll be able to, like in Ashanti region, for instance, you have a lot of pro-NPPs.
So what's unlawful about that? The Constitution does not bar people who belong to political parties from contesting at the local level, except the caveat is that you do not come on the ticket of a political party.
Well, so let me give you an example. If you have a regional chairman of a political party, you have a constituency communication officer of a political party, you have a regional organizer of a political party, you have coordinate ward chairman of a political party standing in as assemblymen or contesting as assemblymen.
But not on the ticket of their political parties.
Well, they would not be able to mention that, but you know them. So, like I'm saying,
that's why I'm asking what's unlawful about it. The law says so you can contest, except that you can't
what
contest
it means
on the,
is that we are having the politicians now entering in the realm that we thought was going to be for neutrals, because definitely if you have a regional chairman or a ward chairman or electoral area chairman being an assemblyman, everybody would know that this assemblyman is NPP or is NDC. So perhaps they might not be able to say they are NPP or assemblymen, but it's easy to say they are pro-NPP assemblymen. It's easy to say they are pro-NDC assemblymen. So they've already entered the arena. We think that if you're looking, and not just they as individuals, it's actually becoming reflective of the patterns of our elections. If you check our data we put out on Monday, you would see it has a semblance of the 2020 elections.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You even look, and these are the people who have just registered. You're just using individuals from their respective parties who have gone to the EC to want to contest for the assemblyman. If you use the share figures alone, you would notice that we have in the, over 8,000 people from who are pro-NPP, same number from pro-NDC, who are pro-NDC contesting, and we have a hung parliament. So if you have numbers which are similar to the situations we have, that is one. Number two, pick the regions. Central region, Greater Accra region are swing regions. Right. If you pick the same number of people, the number of people who registered to contest, you realize that it's almost balanced between the pro-MPPs and the pro-NDCs. However, if you go to the Volta region, you realize that there are a few pro-MPP people who had registered to contest, and majority of the people contesting are NDC. Clearly, the MPP knows that they wouldn't even be able to make much inroads in the region.
So what is this your work seeking to achieve now, and what problem will it tackle?
Well, we think that as a nation we need to come clear and accept that the politicization of our electoral process, whether it's been national, it has sunk down to our local government. And if we're accepting it, then let's regularize it, amend the necessary legislation, and ensure that it's being contested as such. We think that it will help with transparency in the system. Two, it also then open the local government system for others to be able to offer some constructive information or ideas as to how it's going to be. Example, I live in Kumkatamanso area. If my assemblyman, I know his political affiliation and he's not working well, I would know how to channel my information. Mind you, most people don't even know their assemblymen, because ordinarily we pick them to be just individuals. But if we know that the assemblyman here is MPP or is NDC, if we don't know him, we'll know how to find him.
All right. Well, I'm sure that this is just the beginning. We'll definitely have more time to talk about this, but we're grateful so much for joining us with this latest report. But even before we wrap up, Germany's foreign minister traveled to Kigali to unveil Africa's first mRNA vaccine production facility. DW's correspondent Thomas Sparrow traveled with the foreign minister to Rwanda. Joins us now with more. Thomas, thanks for spending some time with us. Why exactly did the German foreign minister take part in this unveiling of the vaccine production facility in Africa?
The German Foreign Minister Annalena Baerbock travelled to Kigali, to Rwanda, specifically to take part in the unveiling of this vaccine production facility that was the most important element in her trip to Rwanda. And by the way, she was not the only foreign dignitary to attend this very important unveiling. There were several African heads of state, the leaders of Rwanda, the leaders of Senegal, of Ghana, as well as the European Union Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. And the importance of having the German foreign minister there has to do with the fact that Germany has supported this idea of having an African vaccine production plant. And in fact, it is a German company, BioNTech, that has put this production plant in place. So for Germany, it was important to be there in Kigali, in Rwanda, and to mark this moment, which is definitely an important moment for Africa. This is the first mRNA vaccine production plant in Africa. There are already plans for several others, including in countries like Senegal and South Africa.
The question is, why is it important, in Germany's view, to help, for instance, African countries with such facility?
Essentially because the recent coronavirus pandemic revealed that there is inequality in terms of vaccine production and distribution. The German foreign minister, as well as other leaders, were clear that so far only 1% of vaccines that are actually used in Africa are actually produced in Africa. And that is something that African leaders, in particular from the African Union, would like to change, to have 60% of vaccines needed in Africa, produced in Africa by 2040. And this specific production plant in Kigali, in Rwanda, is one significant step towards that goal. Now, it is also a very ambitious goal. It is a challenging goal as well, but it is the view of the German foreign minister and the other leaders there that it's important to have this as an initial, very important step towards achieving that goal.
Thomas Barrow, thank you for the latest. And that's all we have for you here on The Pulse. I'm Blessed, so we're going to log on to myjoyonline.com for more stories for you.